Hello, on behalf of the Department of Natural Resources Law Enforcement Division, we would like to welcome you and congratulate you on making it to the 2019 Indiana NASP State Tournament. This year's tournament will be attended by over 2,200 students shooting the Bullseye Tournament, and nearly 700 students will be taken to the 3D range. We would like to thank you for your time, your commitment, and your effort to bring these students to Indianapolis for this great tournament. Because of your efforts and the schools and the administration, these students are about to witness something and participate in something they may never had a chance to do. But all this wouldn't be possible if it wouldn't be for our sponsors and our people behind the scenes to make these efforts come true. Coaches, let's take some time and talk about the students' equipment. This becomes a very important part of our tournament because in a lot of cases, we lose a lot of time because of equipment problems that could have been taken care of prior to the tournament. The biggest thing that we want to make sure all the coaches are aware of, that you can only use the regular Genesis bows in any NASP competition. It is important that you help us out too by making sure there's no visible marks on the bow windows that would necessarily have to be taped or covered over. If you can do that prior to the start of your tournament, that would help us out a bunch. Also remember that we only allow the two types of nocks on the string. It either has to be a string knock that you tie onto the bowstring or the original nylon one that comes officially with the bow. And also you can help us out by making sure that there's no modifications to the bow grip and that you're using only the factory cable slide. If something would happen during the tournament that a repair needs to be made, the lane officials will allow a short period of time for repair so it can be made. But remember, your student must remain on the line if that repair is being done. This year, if you decide to bring arrows to the tournament, even though we are supplying arrows for the tournament, if your school brings your own, be sure that they are marked and labeled. When the students come forward to the line, they'll bring their arrows along with them. At the end of the flight, if there are any arrows that are not marked, they will become part of the tournament supply. Coaches, at the last two tournaments, we instituted a new staging area right outside of the Champion Pavilion. This area has provided a unique opportunity for you to go over the students' scorecards, making sure that they're all bubbled in, and also you can make sure that they know their lane assignments. Take advantage of this staging area and get things ready before you enter into the building. We will have the gate ready to go. As soon as the building is empty, we will invite your students and the coaches into the Champion Pavilion. Upon entering the building, please have your students take their bows immediately to the bow rack in their area that they will be shooting. Also, this would be a great opportunity for them to put their arrows in the quiver if they are bringing them. If not, the lane officials will help your students get the tournament arrows, and they'll make sure the right color and that is chosen for them. Now, the scorecards can be taken up to the target line. Yes, the target line. In years past, we used to take them all the way up to the target, but starting last year, the scoreboards are at the target line. And remind your students that it's very important not to damage those scorecards. Any damage to the cards can cause a lot of trouble in the scoring room. And coaches, will take this time to remind that you have a coach's alley. That alley is designed for you and your coaches to stand in. Each team is allowed 3 coaches, and the coaches are provided with the wristband and their credentials. This has become important. In years past, we've had multiple people over the 3 in that area, and that causes a lot of trouble. And remember, you can coach your students, but only coach your students when they are off the shooting line. No yelling or screaming out at the coaching line, from the coaching line will be permitted. When your students are called to the line to start the shooting on their flight, please make sure that your students are aware of their lane assignment. Each lane has got an X marked in the center, which represents the center of that target. Whether your archer is assigned to the left or the right, they are issued 30 inches of room, and they must maintain their stance in that 30 inches. Crowding has become a problem over the years, and this is a situation that we will not tolerate. Every archer is required to stay within their 30 inches, and they need to be mindful of the archer next to them. Whether they're tilting the bow, they're talking, whatever the case may be, they need to be mindful of the other archer that's in their lane with them and be respectful and show good sportsmanship. Any violation of this can and will be dealt with. Now, sky draws and floor draws. Coaches, we've talked about this in the past, but it is imperative that your archers start from the pre-draw position. It is a dangerous situation if they are sky drawing or they're drawing up from the floor. So please help us so that's not an issue at the tournament. If we have a bounce out is when the arrow hits the target and it falls to the ground. Your archer is to raise their hand, and then we will get a replacement arrow for them. Now, if it is a tournament arrow, one of our lane officials will supply that other arrow. But coaches, if you're bringing arrows from the school, that's your responsibility to be ready and have another arrow that we can take out to your archer. We cannot delay the tournament, so be mindful of that and having arrows ready and be ready in case of bounce out. Remember, if an arrow is shot and it doesn't make it to the target line, that is a 0. But if the arrow bounces off the floor and it hits the target, it will be scored where it's hit. We're going to take a little time and talk about scoring. Scoring is a very important part of our tournament. And folks, I have to tell you that over the years, there's been a scoring video put out by the national tournament that all of our students should have been watching. And it's been real evident that not everybody's watched that video. So we're going to provide a link to that video, and we would please ask you to make sure that all your students are aware of the scoring procedures. We are going to enforce the new scoring procedures at this year's tournament. Again, remember, when your students walk up to the line, they cannot kneel or they cannot sit while scoring their arrows. They must remain on their feet. Another thing that happens quite a bit is that the students like to reach and touch the arrows while they're scoring them. This can be particularly troublesome if that arrow is very close to a line. So again, tell your students to avoid touching the arrows until all 10 arrows are scored. We hate to make a call, but if it becomes an issue, an arrow may become a 0. So please share that with your students. Remember, if there's any discrepancies on the scoring, have them raise their hand and a lane official will come by and make the call. The lane officials have the final authority on all the calls, so this is what they're there for, to help your students out. Every year, there's a case or two where people forget to bubble in their scores. Remember, at the end of their flight, when they're scoring their arrows, they need to put a check mark along their score saying that they've verified their arrows. So if they walk away from that scorecard and there's an arrow not scored, it will become a 0. That check mark is very important. That ensures that they reviewed the scorecard and the scoring is correct. And one other thing that we'd like to say is at the end of the tournament, when your student signs off on that scorecard, that is final. There's no going back and reviewing something or going after it. When they sign the card, they're accepting it. Also, please remind your students that that scorecard cannot leave the target line area. Every year we'll have students walk back to the coach's line and want to take their scorecard with them. Be sure they keep them up there. We'd hate to disqualify a student for something so simple. When it comes to our lane officials, we make a strong effort to make sure that we have well-trained and very knowledgeable people that are willing to come and work our tournament every year. This is an important part because they play a big role in your students' participation at the state level and the national and the open. So with that being said, remember that the lane officials are the only ones who can correct a scorecard. They have the eraser, they can correct the problem and make your card right for your student. The student needs to raise their hand and a lane official will come by and help them out. And again, remember, the lane officials have final authority on any decision made. So it becomes important that your students follow the directions of the lane officials and they work with them to correct any problem. Now, this is a subject none of us really want to talk about, but we are going to talk about it: cheating and sportsmanship. Over the years, we have been very lucky in Indiana. This has not been a problem, and I don't foresee it being a problem in the future. But we want you to understand that cheating or unsportsmanlike conduct will not be tolerated. We are blessed to have some great students in Indiana, and I'm so glad that this is something we don't have to spend a lot of time on. But remember, if a student is disqualified, not only will it disqualify that student, it may disqualify the team, and if that happens, they are no longer eligible to compete at the national level or at the open tournament. So coaches, we respect you a lot for what you do with these students and everything else. Help us to maintain that sportsmanlike attitude that we know our students have. And we appreciate your efforts on this. Here in Indiana, we are pleased that we are able to provide each of your students a qualifier's medallion. This medallion is something that your students earned by getting the invitation to attend this year's tournament. There were a lot of students that didn't get the invitation this year, so we want to make it sure that your students receive what they have coming. When you enter the building, you will see a picture area. This is where the medallions and the team pictures will be taken. This is a requirement that we ask all teams to do, so be sure to stop by that booth and get your medallions and get your picture taken. This can be done before you shoot or after you shoot. Now, if you're scheduled to be in the 9th flight, the last flight of the day, we want to tell you that you need to arrive early to receive your medallions and to get that picture taken. The booth will shut down at the start of the 9th flight. Our award ceremony will take place in the Blue Ribbon Pavilion on the 3D range. So please, after the conclusion of all the flights, please make your way over to the bleachers there at the 3D range. Now, the award ceremony consists of several different things that will take place. One of the things that will happen is if we have any ties for first place, we will have a shoot-off to break that tie. The other thing that we will do is we will have an overall shoot-off for the overall champion in both male and female. So that becomes an interesting shoot-off that is enjoyed by a lot of people. Also, we want to recognize all our seniors that will be receiving a scholarship from the Indiana NASP program. We are very pleased to provide the scholarship to our outgoing seniors who are continuing their education. Remember, the 3D and the Bullseye Awards will all take place after completion of all that. So join us for the award ceremony, and we will try to streamline it again to get everybody out as early as possible. A program that was started several years ago is the Academic Archer Program. This is a very unique program that every school can participate in. There is not a requirement that you be a school that competes in competition, so it is open to every school that has been trained in the NASP program. We ask every coach and parent and teachers to get involved with this program. We recognize our students for their archery accomplishments, but we also want to honor those students for their academic ability. This program has been one that is far-reaching, and at the end of the school year, we can honor not only our archers for their abilities on the range, but for their academics. So please join us with that and enroll your students in our academic program. We encourage every school to do it. And again, Indiana was very proud to be ranked 2nd in the nation the last 2 years, and we look forward to continuing that in the future. This year's Indiana NASP State Tournament is a culminating event in a lot of different ways. For our students, this is what they've been working for, the opportunity to attend and to accomplish their goals at this tournament. So for the seniors, this may be the last time they're stepping onto the floor as an archer in the NASP program. Some of our younger students, 4th, 5th, 7th grade, this is what they're attaining, trying to get there every year, trying to improve their score and making it better so they have an opportunity to continue this great journey. Coaches, you have a lot to do with their accomplishments, and we want to make sure that this day is their special day. So with that in mind, we're not going to worry about the clock. We're not going to worry about the time of the flights. We're going to make sure that these students have an experience that they will remember a long, long way down the road. And you can help us with this, and we'll make sure that we do our part to do the best we can. So with that, I would like to thank our vendors. We have a bunch of vendors that come in and support this tournament, and we appreciate each and every one of them showing up. But how can we do this without our school support? To our schools, to our principals, our superintendents, everybody who's involved with the school, thank you for allowing your students this great opportunity. And look at the crowd we had at our tournaments. It's unbelievable, the family support that we have from parents, brothers and sisters, grandma and grandpa. This is what makes this event so special. Having family support is huge, and we appreciate everybody's efforts there. And how could we not talk about the student archers? The commitment, the time, the energy, and the efforts they put in to trying to make it to this point in the journey in the archery year. Thank you, students, for your efforts. As you can see, it takes a lot of people to pull off this event. Our volunteer staff and our Indiana conservation officers do a wonderful job in providing this unique opportunity for our students, and we couldn't do it without them. So thank you very much for all your efforts. Again, on behalf of the Indiana Department of Natural Resources, the Law Enforcement Division, the Indiana Hunter Education Association, and the Indiana NASP program, we would like to thank you for your time and your dedication to the students, because we truly are changing lives one arrow at a time.